Welcome back to the Numismatics Hub to another fascinating journey into the world of rare and historic coins. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1929 United Kingdom one-penny, a coin that holds more than just monetary value. Minted during the reign of King George V, this bronze penny carries the legacy of an empire between two world wars, from the iconic image of Britannia to the powerful symbolism of British strength and stability. This coin is a timeless piece of history you won't want to miss. Let's uncover the story behind this remarkable coin. Top 6. First up, the 1929 one-penny was minted during the reign of King George V, the grandfather of the current monarch, King Charles III. George V ruled from 1910 to 1936, and his coins are renowned for their elegant design and consistent quality. The 1929 penny is no exception. It's a classic piece of British numismatic art. This penny features the left-facing portrait of King George V, created by Bertram McKennell, an Australian-born sculptor who was knighted for his artistic contributions. The king is depicted bareheaded, a traditional approach for coinage at the time. Surrounding his portrait are the Latin words Georgius Vide Gra, Brit, Om, Rex Fid, Def Ind, Imp. That Latin inscription translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. It's a mouthful, but it represents the vast reach of the British Empire. In 1929, this was still an age when the sun never set on British territories, and the king's image appeared on coins used across the world. Flip the coin over and you'll see Britannia, the helmeted female figure holding a trident and shield. She had appeared on British pennies since Roman times and was a powerful symbol of maritime strength and national pride. In 1929, she remained a prominent figure on the reverse of the penny. The design of Britannia was created by Leonard Charles Wyon and was used with slight modifications for over 100 years. She sits calmly, her trident upright, with a shield bearing the Union Jack at her side. Behind her, waves lap at the base of her ceta. Reminder of Britain's sea power. The 1929 penny was struck in bronze, composed of 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc. This composition had been standard for pennies since 1860, replacing the heavier copper versions. Each penny weighs 9.4 grams and has a diameter of 30.8 millimeters, perfectly round and slightly heavier than modern coins. Over 44 million of these pennies were minted in 1929 at the Royal Mint in London. That sounds like a huge number. It is, but many of these coins circulated heavily and suffered wear, which means high-grade specimens are much harder to find today. The economic context of 1929 also makes this penny special. This was the year of the Wall Street crash, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. While Britain was not hit as hard as the US, its economy did slow down. The penny was a vital coin for everyday transactions, from buying newspapers to paying bus fares. By 1929, the design of the penny was starting to feel a bit old-fashioned. New artistic movements were challenging the classical imagery of coins. Still, the British public had grown fond of the traditional George V penny, and there were no major changes until his death in 1936. Collectors often prize 1929 pennies for their historical significance and connection to the final years before global turmoil. Just a decade later, World War II would reshape the world and drastically change coinage across the British Empire. In terms of rarity, the 1929 penny is considered common in circulated grades, but becomes scarce in uncirculated or mint-state condition. Coins with a brilliant reddish-brown luster can fetch a much higher price at auction, especially when certified by grading agencies. The value of a 1929 penny depends heavily on its condition. A well-worn piece may be worth less than $1, but a brilliant uncirculated coin can sell for $50 to $150 or even more, depending on market demand. Proof versions, if found, are extremely rare and valuable. Some errors also increase the value. Off-center strikes, doubling or misaligned dies can turn a common coin into a collectible gem. While error pennies from 1929 are rare, they are highly sought after by serious collectors. The coin also carries sentimental value for many people in the UK, especially older generations. The George V penny reminds them of their childhood or stories passed down from parents and grandparents. It's not just metal, it's memory. The 1929 penny is a popular piece for beginner collectors. It's affordable, easy to find, and opens the door to exploring British coinage. Many collectors start with this coin before expanding to older Victorian pennies or rarer pre-decimal varieties. As British currency transitioned to decimalization in 1971, the old pennies, like the one from 1929, were taken out of circulation, but they were never forgotten. They remain iconic in British culture, appearing in nursery rhymes like "See a penny, pick it up." In fact, the 1929 penny has even been featured in art and jewelry. Some people use it as a lucky charm, while others turn it into necklaces or keepsakes. Its round, solid form and timeless imagery make it perfect for preservation. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual history fan, the 1929 United Kingdom one penny is more than just a coin. It's a snapshot of an empire, a symbol of a king, and a quiet witness to a world on the brink of change. So, the next time you come across a 1929 penny at a flea market or in an old family box, take a moment to appreciate it. You're holding nearly 100 years of history in your hand, a small coin with a grand story. Next up, the 1936 one penny from the United Kingdom holds a unique place in British numismatic history, as it was minted during a year of royal transition. It marked the final year of King George V's reign, whose portrait had appeared on British coinage since 1911. This coin was struck in bronze. A composition first adopted in 1862 replaced the heavier copper pennies. The 1936 penny continued this tradition with a diameter of 30.8 millimeters and a weight of approximately 9.4 grams. The obverse front of the coin features the crowned bust of King George V facing left, with the inscription George's V de gra Brit om rex fid, def indi imp, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. This regal inscription reflects the vastness of the British Empire during this period. The king was not only the monarch of the United Kingdom but also of dominions like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and India. The reverse back of the 1936 penny depicts the traditional figure of Britannia, seated with a trident in one hand and a shield bearing the Union Jack in the other. This image symbolizes British naval power and strength. The reverse inscription simply reads "one penny" with the date 1936 below Britannia. The design had been in use since 1895, making it a deeply familiar and iconic symbol to the British public. The 1936 penny was minted in large quantities at the Royal Mint in London. However, despite the high mintage, this coin has gained collector interest due to its historical importance. King George V passed away on January 20, 1936, marking the end of an era. His death initiated a chain of unprecedented royal events that would make the year 1936 one of the most dramatic in British royal history. Following George V's death, his son Edward VIII became king. However, no coins bearing Edward VIII's portrait were issued for circulation in the UK, making 1936 the last penny with George V's image. Edward VIII's reign was short-lived, only 11 months, due to his controversial decision to abdicate the throne to marry American divorcee Simpson. This event shocked the empire and led to his younger brother becoming King George VI. The Royal Mint had begun preparing new dies and coin designs for Edward VIII, including a new penny, but none were officially released, which preserved the 1936 penny as the last circulated piece of that tumultuous year. In terms of design, the 1936 penny is celebrated for its clear, sharp detail and strong strike, as it was produced before the transition to new dies. Coins in mint or near condition are especially prized by collectors, although not rare in general. High-grade specimens of the 1936 penny can attract strong interest due to the coin's and era symbolism and connection to the royal abdication crisis. Over the decades, the 1936 penny has become a popular piece among both British and international collectors, particularly those who focus on monarchic or 20th century coins. Some eras and varieties of the 1936 penny exist, including misaligned dies or weak strikes, which can increase a coin's value and desirability to specialists. The coin was demonetized in 1971, when the UK decimalized its currency and phased out the old penny system in favor of a new decimal system of pence and pounds. However, the cultural memory of coins like the 1936 penny remains strong, and many people still recognize the figure of Britannia from school days, childhood, or family collections. In recent years, interest in vintage UK coinage has surged, fueled by media coverage, royal documentaries, and renewed public interest in the British monarchy and its history. The 1936 one penny serves not only as a numismatic artifact, but also as a historical marker. It reflects the end of a long and stable reign, the challenges of constitutional monarchy, and the enduring symbols of British identity. Whether found in an old jar, inherited from a grandparent, or purchased from a coin show, the 1936 UK penny is a compelling piece that connects collectors to one of the most fascinating years in British history. Next up, the 1917 United Kingdom one penny is a significant coin that reflects not only the economic and numismatic history of Britain but also the historical backdrop of World War I. It was struck during a time when the British Empire was deeply involved in global conflict, and coinage production had to meet both domestic and colonial needs. This penny was part of the pre-decimal British currency system, where 12 pennies made a shilling and 20 shillings made a pound. The penny was one of the most widely used denominations in daily transactions across the United Kingdom and its territories. The obverse front of the 1917 penny features the bust of King George V, who reigned from 1910 to 1936. His portrait, designed by Sir Bertram McKennell, shows the king facing left, wearing the imperial crown and robes around the king's image. The Latin inscription reads, George's V de gra Brit om rex fid def imd imp, which translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. The reverse side of the coin features the classic seated Britannia designed by Leonard Charles Wyon. Britannia, the female personification of Britain, is shown seated facing right, holding a trident and shield bearing the Union Jack. The year 1917 is inscribed at the bottom of the reverse side, marking its mintage date. This design remained largely unchanged on pennies from 1860 until the decimalization in 1971. The coin was struck in bronze, a composition of 95% copper, 4% tin, and 1% zinc. Due to the war effort, however, the metal supply was affected, and some wartime pennies exhibit slightly different tones or wear patterns. Mintage of the 1917 penny was extremely high, with over 144 million coins produced. This high number was due to the demand from both Britain and its colonies, where British currency circulated widely. Despite the large mintage, the 1917 penny is still sought after by collectors today. Coins in excellent condition are more valuable, as most circulated heavily and suffered wear and damage over time. A unique aspect of 1917 pennies is that no proof coins were issued for collectors that year. All coins were intended for general circulation, making uncirculated or mint-state examples quite rare. During this time, the Royal Mint was under pressure to maintain coin production despite wartime restrictions, including labor shortages, metal rationing, and energy constraints. The 1917 penny was minted in London, and no mint mark appears on the coin. Unlike some colonial or special issue coins, British pennies of this era were produced without distinguishing marks. The coin weighs 9.4 grams and has a diameter of 30.8 millimeters, making it a relatively large and heavy coin for everyday use, especially by today's standards. Coins from this period often exhibit patina, a natural darkening due to oxidation. Collectors often appreciate this patina as a sign of authenticity and age, though some prefer cleaned or glossy examples. One interesting detail is the presence of ghosting on some 1917 pennies. This happens when the king's portrait faintly appears on the reverse due to excessive striking pressure or die flaws, and such coins are of special interest to era collectors. The 1917 penny played a vital role in the economic stability of the British people during wartime. As prices rose and economies shifted, maintaining a reliable currency was crucial for morale and commerce. British pennies like the 1917 issue were also used in colonies such as India, South Africa, Australia, and the Caribbean, reinforcing the reach and power of the British Empire through its coinage. After World War I, the Royal Mint reviewed and adjusted its coinage operations. But the design of the penny remained unchanged until 1922, when minor modifications were made to die details. In the modern day, a 1917 UK penny in fine circulated condition typically sells for a modest amount. But coins in uncirculated or near-uncirculated condition can fetch significantly higher prices at auctions or among numismatists. Overall, the 1917 British one penny is more than just a coin. It is a piece of wartime history, a symbol of Imperial Britain, and a fascinating collectible for those interested in numismatics and the legacy of British coinage. Next up, the 1921 penny coin from the United Kingdom is a fascinating piece of British numismatic history, minted in the post-World War I era period, marked by economic hardship, social change, and global transition. This coin carries not only the face of the British monarch but also the burden and legacy of an empire in evolution. The obverse front of the 1920 penny features the effigy of King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936. His portrait was designed by Sir Bertram McKennell, an Australian sculptor, and presents the king facing left, wearing a crownless profile and surrounded by Latin inscription. The inscription around King George V reads, Georges vide gra, Brit, Om, Rex, Fid, Def, Ind, Imp. This translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. It reflects Britain's vast imperial reach at the time. The reverse of the coin features Britannia, the female personification of Britain, seated facing right. She holds a trident in one hand and a shield bearing the Union Jack in the other. This iconic imagery had been used on pennies since 1797. Beneath Britannia sits the year of minting, 1920. The reverse was designed by Leonard Charles Wyon, who inherited the task of continuing his father, William Wyon's classic designs during Queen Victoria's era, made of 95% copper, 4% tin, and 1% zinc. The 1920 penny is part of the pre-decimal British coinage system. Each penny weighed 945 grams and had a diameter of 30.8 millimeters, making it quite a large and heavy coin by modern standards. The 1920 penny marks a significant transition point for British coinage. While silver coins saw a reduction in purity that year from sterling 0.925 to 0.500 fine silver, the bronze penny retained its composition, providing continuity in the base coinage. This period in British history was marked by post-WI reconstruction. Britain was financially strained from the war effort, and this coin circulated in a time of inflation, unemployment, and shifting social structures. The 1920 penny was minted at the Royal Mint in London, which was the primary minting authority for the British Empire. Unlike some other years, there were no additional mint marks like H for Heaton or KN for Kings Norton. Over 84 million 1920 pennies were minted, making it a relatively common coin in circulation. However, the condition of these coins greatly affects their value today, with mint state examples being much rarer and highly sought after by collectors. Circulation of this penny was widespread, reaching not just the United Kingdom but many of its colonies, where British currency was used, including India, Australia, and parts of Africa and the Caribbean. Over time, many 1920 pennies became heavily worn due to extensive use, which makes well-preserved examples with sharp details and little wear especially valuable to numismatists today. The 1920 penny is often found with signs of environmental wear or corrosion, especially if it spent time buried or in humid climates, which adds another layer of intrigue and challenge for collectors trying to find pristine examples. As with other British bronze pennies, the 1920 coin was demonetized in 1971, when the UK transitioned to decimal currency. It ceased to be legal tender after Decimal Day on February 15, 1971. Despite being demonetized, the 1920 penny remains a highly collectible item due to its historical value, attractive design, and tangible link to Britain's imperial past in King George V's reign. In the collector's market today, a circulated 1920 penny might only be worth a few dollars or pounds, but uncirculated or proof-like specimens can command much higher prices, sometimes exceeding £50, £100 depending on condition. This coin is also valued as part of date sets or as a representative of early 20th century British coinage. Many collectors aim to complete full sets of George V pennies, making each date, including 1920, important in completing the collection. The 1920 penny is also a favored educational piece among historians and teachers, as it can illustrate the social, political, and economic story of post-WIB Britain in a single object. Coin enthusiasts often use the 1920 penny to compare minting quality across eras as its large surface makes it easier to appreciate the craftsmanship and detail in both the portrait and Britannia's figure. Ultimately, the 1921 penny coin remains a cherished relic of a bygone age, token from a time when Britain was redefining itself after war, and coins were not just currency but symbols of a nation's identity and imperial legacy. Next up, the 1935 one-penny coin from the United Kingdom holds both historical and numismatic value. Issued during the reign of King George V, this coin represents a period of great transition and modernization in Britain, reflecting both the monarch's legacy and the evolving British Empire. King George V ruled from 1910 until his death in 1936, and his reign was marked by significant events such as World War I, the decline of the British Empire, and major economic changes. The 1935 penny was minted in the final full year of his rule, making it part of his numismatic legacy. The obverse of the 1935 penny features the portrait of King George V facing left. This portrait, designed by Bertram McKennell, had been in use on British coinage since 1911. It showcases the king in a bareheaded style, with a calm and dignified expression. The inscription around the portrait reads Georges V de Gras, Brit. Om Rex Fid, Def Imd, which stands for George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India, a clear reflection of Britain's vast global dominion at the time. The reverse side features the iconic image of Britannia, a symbol of British naval power and unity. She is shown seated facing right, wearing a helmet, holding a trident in one hand and a shield with the Union flag in the other. This design had been used on British pennies since the 17th century. The reverse also bears the inscription 1 penny and the date 1935 at the bottom. The simplicity and clarity of this design contributed to the penny's widespread acceptance and circulation. The coin is composed of 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc, giving it a rich reddish-brown hue that deepens with age. Its diameter is approximately 30.8 millimeters, and it weighs around 9.4 grams, making it a substantial coin in the hand. In 1935, the Royal Mint produced over 56 million pennies, making this a common date among George V pennies. However, its value and desirability among collectors still hold, due to its historical context and condition. The economic backdrop of 1935 was one of gradual recovery from the Great Depression. Britain had faced immense financial strain throughout the early 1930s, and coinage played an important role in everyday commerce as most of the population still relied heavily on coins for transactions. Socially, the British public still showed great respect and loyalty to the monarchy in 1935, and George V was a popular and stabilizing figure. His image on coins was a symbol of continuity and trust. Interestingly, 1935 was also the year of King George V's Silver Jubilee, marking 25 years on the throne. While special commemorative coins were issued for the occasion, The regular penny retained its standard design. This makes the 1935 penny unique in that it was minted during a year of national celebration but did not have a special design variant like other denominations, such as the 1935 rocking horse crown. Collectors today often seek the 1935 penny as part of a full George V collection. It is considered relatively easy to find in circulated condition, but examples in uncirculated or mint state grades are much rarer and more valuable. One factor that affects the value of a 1935 penny is its patina, or the coloration it develops. Over time, a naturally toned reddish-brown or chocolate-brown coin with minimal wear is more desirable than one that has been cleaned or damaged. There are no major varieties or mint errors known for the 1935 penny, unlike some other dates in the series. However, small differences in strike quality and die wear can still make some pieces more collectible than others. The 1935 penny continued to circulate in Britain for several decades after its minting, especially during World War II, when metal shortages meant that no new pennies were struck in some years. It wasn't until 1971, with the advent of decimalization in the UK, that the old penny ceased to be legal tender. This marked the end of a long era for this denomination, which had been a part of daily life for centuries. Despite being demonetized, the 1935 penny remains a popular item among numismatists and history enthusiasts due to its rich background and royal associations, its historical context between two world wars at the peak of the British Empire's transformation makes it a small but significant artifact of its time. It represents not just currency, but the changing identity of a nation, whether part of a large collection or a single keepsake. The 1935 UK 1 penny is a testament to the enduring legacy of British coinage, the reign of George V, and a pivotal moment in 20th century history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this history, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more amazing coin stories.